When it comes to physical contact with a student, you need to be very, very cautious. You need to protect yourself. Now, things like a fist bump, dapping up a student, or maybe even a side hug, those are fine. But you need to be careful. Now, when it comes to fights, I didn't break up fights. I told my students that as well. I'm not going to break up a fight. I don't get paid enough for that, and I'm not going to get hurt breaking up a fight. Just not going to do it. And so I had throughout my 12 years in the classroom, I had one fight, and that fight, it was over very, very quickly because they knew what I already told them. I'm not breaking up the fight. Period. So here we have a situation, and this is something that we can all learn from. Here we have a teacher who's been sent into a bathroom to monitor student behavior in the bathroom. I am uncomfortable with that as a principal, simply because I know how much I hated going into the bathroom to supervise, and so if it's just a really tough job, and so I would rather a principal do that than send in a teacher. So here we have a teacher who's gone in to supervise students, and he has. And I know many of you teachers who've made the mistake of going to use the bathroom that the students use. You see this as well, where you may see two or three students in a stall. They're probably in there vaping or making some sort of transaction, things they shouldn't be doing in school. So this teacher has found this student here, and this student is refusing to follow directions from the teacher. Now, before this happened, the student actually shut the door of the stall on the teacher's hand. So that happened as well. So here we are, students finally out of the stall, and let's see what happens next. So obviously, remember I told you that the student closed the stall door on the teacher's hand, so the teacher is not happy, and that's understandable. Not happy at all, because it shouldn't be a heavy lift to say, "Hey, come out of the stall, follow me to the office." That's easy. So the student didn't had some not nice things to say back to the teacher. Now the teacher's upset too because you shut the door on my hand. But this right here. So what has happened is, yeah, I'm sure the student probably said some things to the teacher that were disrespectful. And the teacher's not happy, and the video's kind of grainy. But I think I could tell by the look of the teacher's face, the teacher's not happy either. But what has happened is that the student has turned his back to the teacher, and the student appears to be walking out of the bathroom. At which point, the teacher comes behind the student and places his arm around the neck of the student. And then he has his elbow in the to the high point of the back. And so it would appear that that kind of placement, that just puts a lot of pressure on the student's neck. And that's not advised. And when I learned proper restraint and escorting, because this teacher said he defended himself and said he was escorting the student to the office. Well, proper escorting involves the hand, and like ideally it's two people where you both take an arm and you're walking the student to where you want them to go. But if you only just one person, what you do is you grab the arms and you lock them like this from behind, and you direct the student to where you want them to go from behind, as opposed to what you see here is him leading the student. Like it's bad form when we talk about doing an escort. And you know what? You would expect bad form because he probably hasn't been taught. Probably hasn't been taught. So I want to go back here a little bit to show you this. Again, we're learning from this situation. Here, I thought, and I don't have the audio, But this looks to me, I can't tell if he was pushed, but this looks to me like the student is just kind of squared up a little right here. That looks like the student's kind of squared up a little bit. And so I wonder how the teacher took this posture right here. Now the teacher hasn't put hands on him yet. I don't think. I don't think. But shortly before this, the student slammed the door on the teacher's hand. So I think both of them are probably not in a, they're not probably using soft, kind words to get what they want out of this situation. And again, that's understandable. This shouldn't be hard. Come out of the stall, follow me to the restroom. That's not difficult. But what is going to be difficult for this teacher is this right here. You can't do that. And I love teachers. I'm for teachers. This channel is all about teachers. Teachers are leaders. But there are going to be times when you find yourself in those hallways, ladies and gentlemen. You can't stay in your room the whole day. There's going to be times where you find yourself in those hallways in different situations that you don't necessarily want to be in. And much like this teacher, you know, you may be at a school where the principal comes up with a bright idea to, hey, I know who will have monitor the bathrooms. Let's have teachers monitor the bathrooms. So what do you do in those situations? That is the question. First of all, let's see the rest of this. So, I mean, now it goes from like I would call that is that a rear, a chokehold? I think that's a rear naked chokehold. I think that's what that was originally that he had. And it's just like, you just can't. Ugh. And see, no matter how wrong this kid is, this kid has a mom. And you let a mom see that, that's not going to be good. Especially if the mom is enabling. Now the mom may not be enabling, but the mom could still has, she can be, two things can be true. She can be very upset with her son for refusing to come out of the stall and slamming the door on this teacher's hands, but she could also be upset with the teacher for putting a rear naked choke on her son. And then that transitions into a headlock. Like I just that's it's unnecessary. And again, I love teachers. I'm all about teachers, but this is unnecessary. And then it gets even worse. Okay. Like now we have a firm grip on the hoodie. And now that transitions to this right here. Like, I don't know what this is or what we're doing, but it looks like we have the hand around the neck area. And again, sure, kid may be wrong, but you know, he's also got a family. And the family looks at something like this, like, I mean, you could imagine in some families, they may want to do this to him, but they wouldn't let anyone else do that to him. So now, I mean, he's got a firm hold of the clothing here, and you just, like, this just opens the door to injuries and just anything. And ultimately, the teacher did say, he reported that he did get injured. Now, look at the student. Like, that's just like the student's trying to hold himself from going forward. Like, that's just not how you, that's not how you do it. So what should have happened if you're in this situation? And I hope that you're never in this situation to begin with, but if you're in this situation, you get your phone out and you call the principal, or you call a teacher buddy and say, hey, 911, I need help. I need an adult in here. Or you use your voice to say, help, I need an adult in here. If your voice is not good enough to command the respect that you deserve in this situation, and usually that's what I did for certain. If I arrived on a really tense situation, I just used my voice. I would go, hey! That's what I would do. And that would get the attention. That would cut through the rest of the noise and let everyone know, hey, someone of authority is here. Whatever you're doing, you need to knock it off. And that was enough. But what you don't want to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is you don't, if they're refusing to come out of the stall, that's great, because then you can get out your phone, make a call, and say, "Fine, stay there. I've got someone coming to deal with you," and you just hold your position right here. Not a big deal. You don't get physically involved. There's no need for that. Now, again, I think this teacher was upset because his hand got shut in the stall, and I understand that. I get that, but we as adults in a school, we are expected to act with just an unbelievable amount of patience and restraint. And so I think this teacher fell short of that in this moment, because the student has walked away. The student is moving. The student is doing what you want the student to do. The student is now moving towards the door, which is good. At this point, all you need to do is just keep a safe distance and make sure the student is walking to where you want to go. Because now that the student is leaving the bathroom, that's great, because now we've got all kinds of cameras on the situation. So if the administration needs to get if the student doesn't go straight to the office, the administration can follow the student via the cameras. So it's all good. Right now, the job of this teacher is to get this student out of the bathroom without putting hands on the student. And that's just so unnecessary. It's unnecessary. If the student wants to stay there, let them stay there, because ultimately it's going to be time to leave. Ultimately, the student is going to realize, you know what, this is not a good idea. Maybe I should come out. And that gives you enough time to call who you need to call to get some help. But in my opinion, there was no need for the teacher to even put their hands on this student. It's not necessary. The student is leaving the restroom. And you know what? I think that's the lesson here. There was no reason for this teacher to put his hands on the student. You just give it time, and you buy yourself time. Like, if the student if it's not going the way that you expected it to go, don't force the situation by putting your hands on the student. You don't want to be putting your hands on these students. If they refuse, you stay right there. Whatever they say, hey, they can, just be mindful of that. That can, whenever they get their consequences, that can be a part of it as well. Don't try not to take it personal. Just do your job, call for help, and then principals will be right there immediately to assist. And actually, they won't assist; they'll take it from there. But you don't want to be this teacher didn't have to put his hands on this student. And then over here, it looks personal. And this teacher has a lawyer, and the lawyer is actually suggesting to the teacher that the teacher just go ahead and resign. But yeah, I think that, yeah, this teacher fell short. And again, I love teachers. I'm all about teachers. But we have to protect ourselves, because there's going to be times when you just never know. There may be times when you're going to be tested and you're not sure of what to do in these high pressure situations. I know you just want to teach. You just want to execute your lesson. But sometimes you're going to be put in really, really difficult situations, and you need to know how to react. And in this situation, this is a reminder, we don't put our hands on students. We don't want to put our hands on students. If there is another alternative, then we want to go down that road. If there's another alternative where we don't have to put our hands on students, that's the decision that we want to make. And that decision was there. It was clearly there. There was no need to put hands on this student. So that is the takeaway from this lesson. Well, that's your PD for today. I thank you so much for watching. Until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.